Live at lunch.
You are looking live.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Hannegriff.
For some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From Dozy Place on Government Street in Mid-City. Welcome to the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Hannegriff, Jimmy Ott, Max Gotro. Jordan Kinchin's back in the studio. Andy Isco with us today. We do first, second, no class today on Tuesdays. And ordinarily, Ace Seminara is with us on Tuesdays. He has had a death in the family, so he will not be with us today. Send our best out to him. Henry Hayes will be with us, though, today in that slot because the NBA playoffs, or play-ins, as you will, starting today. So all of that. We got a lot to get to. LSU baseball tonight against Northwestern. Tigers can take no more games for granted here in this season. And the NFL draft is a week from Thursday, and that's kind of where we're going to start today. Jimmy, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
All right. I had a whole thing ready to do, but then you said something right before we started about an interview you heard today, and I just scrapped the whole thing I wanted to talk about because I want to talk about that.
Oh, Charlie.
It was all NFL draft stuff. It's just a different
yeah, we
take
did,
on the NFL.
You know, Paul Stone and I did the Bet Rivers podcast, the NFL draft, so I've done a crash course on, on some picks and things like that, met with some folks who really – are draft enthusiasts over the weekend and, like Mike Delicano and some others, and just kind of going from there. And so I'm listening to Bill Polian this morning. We know how Polian is, and he's got some interesting perspective and certainly a ton of experience and insight. But, it comes down to the Saints. And, and listen, he knows a lot of the prospects, and has seen them still. So he's still doing that homework. But, it's he says it comes to the Saints. And he says, well, they gotta first of all they got to decide, if Tyler Shuck's their guy, which who doesn't think they're a guy? They sure. I mean, if he's not, they're.
You want me to comment on it as you go? You want to finish?
Well, right. No, let's. I mean,
okay. If they're gonna decide about Tyler Shuck as their guy, they're not going to do it before the draft. They've decided before the draft that Tyler Shuck is their guy. Now, if he has a disastrous season,
he might not.
After the season, you might say, okay, you know what, we thought he was the guy, he's not the guy. But they are not going to change their mind on Tyler Shuck between now and Thursday. They have decided that he is the guy for the 2026 season, and hopefully moving forward a long way past that. If that craters in the 2026 season, we'll revisit it. But for 2026, Tyler Shuck is the guy.
Well, he didn't go into all that detail, but, I mean, of course he's the guy for 26. Okay?
And we hope he's the guy for a long time after that.
I mean, even if he was talking about possibly bringing, like, Ty Simpson. If he's not, Ty Simpson's not starting ahead of Tyler Shuck. No way in the world. So that's not happening. Or any other quarterback outside of Fernando Mendoza. They're not taking him. So, I mean, it's kind of, it's just funny that we're here and we know how much, and part of it is they hope and they find and that they got their guy. But I think he is. And I was like, now the one thing is they piled up a little bit of success and a little bit, including him, on some weak competition against some teams who were borderline tanking. But he didn't have the best supporting cast either.
Right.
They were a seller at the trade deadline, and they were competitive in every game, if not winning. So, no, and he makes plays from the pocket. And I saw progress, over the course from start to start, So, no, I think he is. Let's see how good he's going to be, okay? He's not Drew Brees,
right?
Okay? But, can he be an 8-10-year starter? Like, he could be.
I don't blame the national media for not paying a lot of attention to them.
Okay, let's move on. So he says, then there, at 9, first of all, he says, Mickey Loomis knows what he's doing. He's been doing it for a long time. Got a great track record.
He had a great draft last year. He had a great draft in 17. Between 17 and last year, but okay.
Got a lot of stability at ownership.
Got that one right. I mean the Benson family, but yes.
But has it been a great thing?
Oh,
I mean it's a club. It's a lot of us sacred cows. Come on, man.
Yeah. No,
I mean it
has been a very solid group.
You've heard that front office, their public comments, how much they fear losing their jobs.
Yeah.
I mean, they flat out insult the
Right.
patrons. I mean, the paying customers.
But to give the due, on the other hand,
Stability.
you could have an ownership that changes coaches
that
every
could be
year.
worse.
Yes.
It could be worse.
You could be Cleveland.
Could be worse, okay? Then they say, well, at that 9, okay, what are you trying to do there? And if Shucks, you're trying to find an explosive player with him. Is Love going to be there? Probably not. Can you get a receiver that, do you want to get an explosive player at that? If not, then you're looking for maybe an edge rusher or something. He did mention Bain. He says he doesn't mind Bain, the short arms. He also says he'd put him in 3 technique inside. Like his buddy Tony Dungy said, hey, that's the shortest route to the quarterback. He'd always valued. Of course, he had a guy like Warren Sapp, and he did value another guy who had the same measurables, not as good, not a Hall of Famer, but good, and Booger McFarland, and brought him to the Colts with him after Tampa Bay, but still he had some, just saying his thoughts, and so is going from there. And then he said, well, and if Ty Simpson's your guy, I mean, take him. No matter don't worry about what everybody else says. If he's your guy, you pull the trigger at 9.
I'd bet everything that I've got on the Saints not taking him at 8. Let me say this about Ruben.
He's at 8 or 9?
8.
Okay, my bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So taking Simpson. Him.
Yeah.
Okay, because I mentioned like 5 guys.
I'd bet. Okay.
Charlie, of course.
Yeah, I'd bet anything.
Okay.
I like Ruben Bain an awful lot. I don't see him as a 3 technique. What do you think Booger played at in the NFL? 290, 295 pounds?
No, I talked to Booger exactly when he got back from mini camp.
Yeah.
And I said, how big? He says, me and Sapp are the same, 6 feet, 300.
300. Okay.
That's what he told me to my face.
Bain weighed 263 at the combine. Okay. That's a little light in the seat for a 3 technique in the NFL, in my opinion. Now, if you want to slide him outside, I see him as more of an edge. Now, the Saints play an odd front most of the time, so I kind of see Bain as a stand-up rush guy in what they want to do defensively. I could also see him in an even front as a straight edge rusher. I don't really see him that far inside at 263 pounds, but I like the player, okay? The short arms don't bother me either. I've seen him be productive enough. And an edge rusher, to me, is very high up the board of what they need.
Short arms are fashionable to detract. Let's face it.
Yeah, no,
I mean, come on.
I've been following the draft since I was 10 years old, and they started putting it on TV, and I have never heard the arm length talked about more than in the last 2 years. I mean, I watched probably 40 drafts and never heard them mention arm length one time. Now, that's all anybody wants to talk about. I watched a guy be a very
the Will
productive
Campbell
player.
thing is
Magnified
very it's. I mean, everybody watches the playoffs, and everybody's brother watches the Super Bowl, and I mean now. It's a lot for a rookie to play left tackle,
Yes.
But I mean, he might not be a lead tackle. He might not be a left tackle. He might be a right tackle. Might be a guard.
Could be.
It might be a very good one. But there's no question that once the competition ramped up, the quality of defenses and edge rushers he faced, he had massive problems.
No, he did.
Massive. That's the tape doesn't lie.
He took on some really good players, some veterans, but yes, he struggled. There's no doubt. There's a couple of scenarios with this that I think are best case, worst case for the Saints. The best case is that at least one, and if you're really, really lucky, 2 of the offensive linemen that are on this board go before your pick because they're not going to take an offensive lineman. I think Francis Muaga from Miami has a good chance to go before the Saints pick at 8. I think that if either Monroe Freeling from Georgia or the kid Spencer Fano from Utah Maybe, but probably not. But let's say one offensive lineman goes. That's the best case. If somebody takes Ty Simpson, fantastic. I don't expect that, but fantastic. What I would like to see the Saints have the option of at number 8 is one of the 3 elite edge rushers. And Reese and Bailey are almost certain to be gone, but Bain might be there, and or Mansour Delane.
He mentioned Delane, too.
Delane would be fine at number 8.
And the best thing he said, and I think we all agree on this, is that they should have some options.
Yeah.
You know?
They will. And I just think if you want to look at a wide receiver there, there's not a lot of scenarios where Cornell Tate gets to you, but there's a couple. From the wide receiver from Ohio State. I think Jordan Tyson will definitely be there at number 8.
He's missing.
I think
no
he's
way
probably,
you can take him at 8.
I think he's a team's pick.
I think that's high.
And then the third receiver is Mekhi Lemon, who's a slot guy, but like they keep pointing out. I know they're going to the very best guy in the league last year, but Smith and Jigba played almost exclusively in the slot last year. They see him as a comp coming out of college to what. And remember, Smith and Jigba didn't blow everybody away as a rookie. He was a good rookie, but now he's one of the best.
CeeDee Lamb is about it out of that system. Lincoln Riley. I think that Lincoln Riley and
Lamb's been the best one for sure.
I've thought about this. That they put up numbers against everybody, offensive numbers. They can't stop the run. They can't tackle. They always have a weak defense. So what is going on? Is it a Spurrier system where the receivers and quarterbacks were never as good, or some other systems? I think I think he does. I think some quarterbacks do benefit, some, but are limited that come out. I think it's modest improvement. Jalen Hurts was a better passer after being through his system, no doubt. No doubt. He got run off quick as soon as Tua, from an average quarterback at the NFL level, and Tua just run off easily. But, still needed a supporting cast to have a success at the NFL level. Mayfield, it took a long time for him to be good, and then it took a little bit of a step back midseason. So we're trying to figure out. And Murray, I don't know what to put on Murray, but he's a complete bust as a number 1 overall pick. But I can't blame his lack of commitment to preparation all in Lincoln Riley,
right,
who's a savant, who can recite the name. So, but the receivers, Charlie, I'm a little, okay. I think this is a fair example. The Biletnikoff winner, the transfer from Pitt, who's with the Vikings.
Mm-hmm. Addison, yeah.
I mean,
there are receivers.
A number 2 receiver.
There are receivers that are going to be there in the second round that I like better than most of the pass rushers.
Nobody after Tate's a number 1. You say Lemon, but he's going to be a slot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to be a real number. I mean, I know
to be an X receiver. I get what you're saying. But there are guys in the second round that I think that are going to be there. Chris Brazzell from Tennessee is one that I like. They like Chris Bell because of the Louisville connection with Shuck. He probably would be thought of as a first-round pick had he not torn the ACL late last year. They say he's going to make a full recovery. You got guys like Zachariah Branch from Georgia, Casey Concepcion from Texas A&M. They're going to be late 1s, early 2s. I would rather them take a pass rusher if he's there in the first round because I think your pass rush options in round 2 are less than the wide receiver options if you're going to go pass rusher, receiver, 1-2.
Sure. No question. No question.
And if they don't get Delane, there's a couple of corners that make sense down there in the second round.
So the 7,
too.
Somebody's got to be left. So Mendoza, Avril Reese.
Reese
and
David Bailey.
Yeah, Bailey.
Yeah,
okay.
Those 2 guys will be gone.
Tate gone.
Probably at 6, I would say.
Yeah.
Bain, or let's say Love. Would you put Love as a 5th overall pick?
Yes.
So that's at 5 before we get to Tate?
Yeah.
And then you got Tate, Bain, and then who else is?
Sonny Styles is going to go in that area.
So that would have to be 7 of 7 for one of those guys not to drop to you, huh?
Yeah.
That'd have to be. How often does that happen?
Well, right, and plus you didn't mention Muaga, who I think is in that mix, the top lineman in the draft from Miami.
Yes, he's probably going to be. So one. Yes, that's a great player. You got to, be available to be a little flexible.
And there's one more, and I've gone back and forth on this with the Saints. I don't think he's going to be there, but a lot of people will tell you that Caleb Downs is the best player in this draft, the safety from Ohio State. And he's not completely a safety.
He came up today.
He's not a safety in the true sense of the word, in that he's probably going to play close to the line. He's going to be
He's
more
a
like
box guy.
Yeah, he got some Kyle Hamilton to him, from the
I
Ravens.
disagree with that.
Okay.
Kyle Hamilton's so much longer, and his length helps him in coverage downfield, although he can play back. He is vulnerable, but he's a smaller guy. He's 210.
Yeah.
What's Hamilton?
About the same thing, about 215.
Okay, but he's about 3 inches taller.
Yeah, probably 2-3 inches taller. Downs is the kind of guy that Brandon Staley has used in the past. Like when he was with the Chargers and he had Derwin James. He has made.
He's a lot bigger.
Well, he's made stars out of safety, and a lot of people like Caleb Downs. I've kind of been back and forth on that.
I do like Polian's combination on nets, and there's only one of these, but box safety, small, great tackler.
Yeah.
Great tackler, great instincts. Plays fast, but he's a safety at 210, so he's close, more effective closer to the line of scrimmage.
Everybody loves it. They loved him in Alabama. Ohio State broke their neck to go get him from Alabama.
A little bit of honey badger in him.
He's a really, really good football player.
Yes, but he's undersized.
A little bit.
A little bit undersized.
A little bit. Yeah.
So it's a
lot of exciting options, though. I like. It would be hard to screw this up and take somebody that I'm just like, no way.
Can I throw one more?
The quarterback would be one of those, though. Yeah,
go. One more that you haven't mentioned, and it's a corner, but there's a chance that some people are starting to say Mansour Delane maybe isn't the first corner taken.
You're going to take McCoy?
Maybe. Jermon McCoy, he's coming off a torn ACL. He missed all of last year, but some of the measurable guys, you know how the NFL draft can be. He ran a 4.37 at the pro day, looked healthy according to the standards. Now he's had some weird moments this offseason. Seems like his agent kept him from going to the combine at all, but his pro day was apparently impressive. And so if you're looking for a faster corner, then
track's always faster at home than it is at Indianapolis.
It is, but Delane was kind of viewed as less physically gifted, but just more technically sound.
Safer
and
pick.
Obviously played last year as well.
Safer pick. McCoy's going to go in the first round. I wouldn't take him in the top 10 coming off of a missed year. And
based on what I've heard, I could see him going late top 10.
See, other thing, too. Would you doing with ACL repairs and reconstructives? I know a lot about them. And all they talk about, twists and pivots. What position do you twist and pivot more than cornerback in the NFL? 0. So I would be a little bit worried, like Charlie's saying. I can run a straight line, but those twists and pivots change the direction. It is completely different. We're live over here at Doe's Eat Place on Government Street in the heart of Mid-City. We talk about it all the time. It's a great place. It's a casual place to come get a great hand-cut choice steak over here. We hand-cut them every morning over here. We hand-cut our fries that we do with them. Man, and we got a great lunch special. Now, lunch menu is available Monday through Friday. We were open every day, Monday through Friday during the week. And so, but 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., and that's it. That's it. Our burgers, our sandwiches, our po' boys, our salads, our plate lunches, like the hamburger steak with the mashed potatoes or the hand-cut fries and the gravy, the chicken fried steak that's big as a Frisbee. I mean, hanging over the plate. I mean, you talk about the spaghetti and meatballs, where homemade meatballs are just delicious. There's ground-up steak as well. Some of the trimmings, man. You talk about really good stuff. That meatball po' boy is a kind of kind of under the radar menu item over here as well. So tamales, of course, they're available lunch or dinner as well. But great steak and a casual atmosphere over here at Doe's, or great lunch items that are only available from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Live at Doe's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Doe's Eat Place on Government Street on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Remember, you can always get this show on demand, 1045ESPN.com, LouisianaSports.net. New Hannycast up on LSU Baseball on YouTube. Brought to you by Supreme Rice, celebrating 90 years in business in 2026 and supporting our Louisiana farmers. Go to SupremeRice.com. Jimmy, did you notice something else while jumping into draft prep in regards to conferences?
Yeah. SEC not going to have the most. Big Ten easily.
Yeah, this is going to be only the second time in the last 15 years that the SEC is not going to have the most first-round picks, and probably not the most picks overall either. Last year, the SEC had 6 more players picked in the overall draft than the Big Ten, but this is probably going to flip that number, and the Big Ten is going to edge them. They're really going to edge them in first. They're really going to have them in first-round picks. I did this yesterday. I took 5 mock drafts from fairly prominent guys, and of the consensus, going to be about 12-7 is kind of the median. Big Ten players to SEC players.
It's something I identified with, and we mentioned this also. And there was about, we did this on the show too, about 4 weeks in, maybe. I said, I don't know if the SEC has a national championship contender.
Yeah,
that's like a lot of good teams, but I mean, Georgia's not as good. I mean, they had fallen off from where they had been. Alabama can beat a lot of teams, but can lose to anybody out there. I mean, just LSU was not. LSU thought, after Clemson, I thought like, no, that offensive line, they not. No, they can't block the Ole Miss game that ended that. It just was a lot of good teams, and part of it is you didn't have a ton of players. Big Ten is clearly the top conference in college football right now. They've won the last 3 national championships with 3 different teams, and then when they've gone head up with the SEC in the playoff, because that's where we go. I mean, how did Indiana Alabama game come out? I mean, that was a whitewash, Jack.
It was.
I mean, so Georgia lost to Notre Dame. Now they were starting, a kid for the first time. When
they had the bad luck with the injury,
a boy finished at Miami.
Oh,
got knocked out.
Got
knocked out for the SEC championship game. So, but still, you can't keep that level of, and that was part of the. They didn't have their depth. I mean, some of the quality depth is going somewhere else. So they're just not stockpiling these 2 deeps at these superpowers. And part of it is Saban's not there anymore. And, can Texas win it all this year? They don't. I mean, when are they? I mean, because they got everything, returning players, consistency in staff, returning starting quarterback, and a nice transfer portal grab. So, I mean, they're probably going to be preseason number 1 again. But that was premature last year. He was a first-year starter. He's not this year. So it might go back to him, but it is distributed mostly the depth. And we're talking about some pros that are on you 2 deep that just are less experienced in historically that aren't there anymore.
Not only has they won the last 3 national championships, the SEC hadn't had anybody in the game in the last 3 years after winning 12 out of 13 or whatever. The top SEC player in this draft, unless
so go 9, 10,
8 or 9, it's Delane.
8
or 9. Somewhere in that area. Max, you got another guy. Who's the next guy after Delane? It's probably the tackle from Georgia, unless McCoy, your guy from Tennessee who missed the whole year.
Not my guy, just to be clear. I'm a bigger fan of Delane, but I've just heard some of that.
No, it's a
he's pimping him. No. Don't let him.
See, I was going to try to get you off the hook there. I was going to try to get you off the hook. But, and Delane was a 1-year guy in the SEC. He spent 3 years at Virginia Tech. So but he's an LSU guy. This year.
But I don't care who he plays for, man. They shied away from him real quick. I mean, it's just
to me he's the number 1 corner off the board. Easy. He's a very safe. Going to play for a long time in the league.
Yeah.
Number 1 corner.
I love Kiffin's quote on him. Hey, just relax, man. We ain't going at you. Don't worry. I mean, it's the ultimate compliment. I mean, when so.
But the last bastion kind of for the SEC was, the players are better here, but some circumstances have happened here. Well, this year the Big Ten's going to go by them. I don't know if it's going to stay that way, but they're definitely going to go by. And Ohio State's going to have one of those Alabama or LSU years where they get 5-6 guys in the first round.
Let me say this. I still think from top to bottom, moving forward, there's more resources at programs in the SEC. It's deeper. But at the top, Ohio State is as good as it gets. And if USC can ever figure it out, if Penn State can ever figure it out, Michigan they're going through some bumps in the road, but they got a hell of a coach who was kind of a last resort. Yeah. A hell of a coach in Whittingham. They're going to be better. I mean, so, and they got some money, do they not?
They have, at this point, more money than the SEC by a little bit. Not by a lot, but by a little bit. Overall distribution, by a little bit.
Because you woke up, if they didn't get it at the right time, they might not ever get it because Cignetti might not ever had enough money to get a competitive budget. But he got them at least a playoff. It was somewhat schedule related, but it got him in there and built the momentum to where he built it up that much more, and they win the whole thing. He's a hell of a coach as well. So Indiana, with the largest alumni base in the country, bam, they're all in. And Indiana basketball ain't crap. I mean, so that some of that money could be shifted a little bit. They're still great, but still you know how many Indiana alums just went to all those games? They said, man, I'll be like Wes Reynolds. I mean, they're all in, man. Yeah, so that's another player.
Dreaming all their lives
I just think there's sustainability in Indiana. And he turned down already some big-time jobs. So he's already proven he can win there, and he's the king.
Those people have dreamed about this. It's kind of like us with LSU basketball, man. Wait, what if we were in the Final Four every year? Are you kidding?
Right.
We'd go crazy. But that's Indiana football the last few years.
Don't forget our friends at Legacy Title. Chad Reynolds, Legacy Title for all of your real estate closings. 296-0060, a full-service title company servicing all of South Louisiana. Fast, friendly, professional service is what you get when you call 296-0060. Our great team at Legacy Title, long-standing staff that executes your deals seamlessly. Ashley Donald, Adrian Galata, Michael Platt, Mariana Haynes, Natalie and Bradford Smith. Buying, building, refinancing. Nobody chooses but you. Choose Chad Reynolds at Legacy Title, 296-0060.
Live at Doe's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Doe's Eat Place on Government Street on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Heading out to Las Vegas, deep in the desert, lives one man of many sports bets, the one and only Andy Isco.
Andy, we've been talking about the NFL draft as we are 9 days away from that and kind of coming down the stretch after the Masters. So in the NBA, playoffs start this week as well. What is your focus right now of your handicapping?
Baseball on a day-to-day basis and the playoffs. I don't get terribly involved with the NFL draft from a betting perspective simply because the options – there's too many options to consider and too many other things that I'm doing. So I follow it. I don't really place much emphasis on it. But, as I say, we got so many more things that we can bet on year-round that I can't bet on everything. So I have to choose my spots and where I feel more comfortable. And because I prefer to bet on things that are decided on the field of play rather than in the general manager's office, I stick to games on the field for the most part.
There you go. All right, what about the playoffs? Any thoughts here? Because this is the main sport where the just the play, the style of play is so much different from the regular season. I mean, the lineups are so much different than the regular season. Your thoughts?
Yeah, the tanking issue has been so dramatic. I don't know if it's ever been more dramatic than this, but 10 teams in each conference make the play-in games in the playoffs, and of course 5 teams in each conference don't. I can't remember any other previous time, whether it be in the last few years or maybe it occurred before we had the play-in games, but there has been an 11-game difference between team number 10, the last team to make it to the postseason, and team number 11, the first team to not make the postseason in each conference. It's a huge spread between a team that finishes just one place different from the team that's right behind it. So the tanking has certainly been an issue, but I think we've got the 10 teams, well, certainly by record, that deserve to be there. Obviously, it's easy to make a case for the favorites, but I'm going to look at a team that I think has a chance in each conference. A lot of it depends upon his health, but I think he's going to be good to go with Wemby. Wouldn't be surprised if San Antonio takes out OKC. in the should they meet in the conference finals. In the East, I think the team that they paid their dues the last few years, and that's the New York Knicks. I think they can get by Boston. I think they've got the confidence to get by Boston. Of course, you've got a fresh Tatum who's playing as if he hadn't been injured and just took 4 months off. So that'll be a tough series to get by. But I like the job that Mike Brown has done this year with the Knicks.
Let's start with the Spurs and the Nuggets there, okay? Because you said the Spurs and OKC. They've got to play the Nuggets first, and one thing is in the NBA historically, the playoffs, you got to get some seasoning before you have some success. Even we go back as recently as Oklahoma City. Well, they got knocked out when they had the home court advantage against the Mavericks, and before they won it the next year. Puzzling decision by San Antonio on the last day of the regular season. They're playing Denver. They have a chance to knock them to knock them back to 4th seed with a win, and play the Lakers, who are banged up. Luka's banged up. Reeves is banged up. They sit Wembanyama and sit most of their guys and allow themselves to get beat at home. And now they're going to have to beat the Nuggets and the Thunder in back-to-back series. They made it harder for themselves.
They did, but I don't think that they're terribly concerned because it's a team that has played well from the get-go. It's not like they made a surprise run. They had a lot of time during the season to develop their confidence. What you say has a lot of merit, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to be looking at it that way. I just like the way, in fact, I put what the results were, but I seem to recall San Antonio having success against OKC very early in the season. As far as that goes, I know you're talking about
OKC.
Denver.
We're not talking about OKC.
You're talking about Denver. You're talking.
Yes.
I'm just saying that they had success as a very young team against the best team in the league last year, early in the season. So they got some confidence early on that this is an improved team, and they were very consistent all year. Were the Spurs? They were a surprise to me that they were able to keep up that consistency. But when you win 60 games in a season, that's a very impressive feat. That's basically 75% of all the games you play. Would I be surprised if Denver knocks them out? No, Denver's a good team. They're not that many years away from an NBA title. They have the guy I think who should be the MVP, considering what he did this year had never been done before, and still contributed with his points in addition to the rebounds and the assists. But I'm just saying that if you're looking for a team that might be good enough to do it, even though they're not accustomed to it, I would take a look at the Spurs.
I think the Spurs are. Getting ready to take over.
What's that?
I think they're getting ready to take over. I think they need some playoff seasoning, maybe this year. But no, they have been a major. Don't worry, they got Oklahoma City's attention because Oklahoma City didn't start sitting people till they had it very late in the season. Had that number 1 seed wrapped up. San Antonio's got their attention. It's a matchup problem. And Wembanyama, they've kind of just about 25, 30 minutes a game was just about the perfect season. The approach to keep him playing all the games. Denver's won 14 in a row. Denver's won a title. Denver's dangerous, man. Much more dangerous than the Lakers. And they had a choice.
Oh, certainly, especially with the Lakers' injuries. No, Denver's a legitimate threat. Any one of those 3 teams can win it. I'm just looking for a team that I thought, or that I think, continue to think, has played well enough to merit consideration and worth a bet.
Oh, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. We'll have to see if they can get over that. For the first time, all these guys could be in the playoffs.
For example, do you want to lay minus 150 with the Dodgers to win the pennant or whatever it is right now? They're probably the favorite. They're probably going to do it, but they still have to go out there and prove it.
As a saying at the track, we say it ain't a horse alive worth 4 to 5. So we'll see.
That's right.
But what about the East? We talked about all the strength seems to be in the West. But what about the East? Because Detroit, they're the number 1 seed. They deserve it. And it looks like Cunningham's going to be okay. I mean, they've kind of eased it back after the collapse. But they have they have a little season. They lost that first round series and it was competitive. Yeah. Maybe not so much in the final game, the count, but every game was close against the Knicks last year. The Celtics, Tatum, talk about load management. He could have sat out more than he did once he was healthy. He played every game. minus the last one, and the Celtics won the division. The million-dollar question: how much does he blend in? By Jaylen Brown having such an awesome year. Your thoughts on the East?
Well, I mentioned before that if I'm going to look at a team that I think can win it, that's not expected to, or not favored to. I mean, Boston deserves to be the favorite based upon their experience, but I said I've liked what Mike Brown has done with the Knicks. I like the combination of the roster. Brunson, has developed into. It's not an elite, an almost elite player, and he's surrounded by some good talent. Cleveland might be a second surprise, and I would probably still put Cleveland probably behind Boston, but ahead of Detroit. I like what Detroit's done. I think they just need a little bit more support for Cunningham. If Detroit's got a little bit of experience, I still prefer Spurs with their limited experience, even in the West, than I do Detroit over the others in the East.
All right. Anything else on the individual games coming up that are set tonight and tomorrow night?
Yeah, I kind of like Phoenix at home laying the relatively short number against Portland. And, look, I don't like to go. There are certain people you just don't like to go against in certain situations, and I don't like to go against Eric Spoelstra in the play-in round in the NBA. They're getting credit to Charlotte. They've had a wonderful season. They might win this game, but I expect Miami to cash the ticket.
There we go. Charlotte is a dangerous club, though. They have been they've been hot, man, coming down the stretch. All right, Andy, we appreciate it, buddy. Follow Andy on Twitter at VegasAndy711. Always some good conversation. And LogicalApproach.com is a deep dive into sports handicapping as well. Thank you, Andy.
Thanks, guys. Take care. Good luck.
And we will return here at Doe's Eat Place on Government Street in Mid-City. Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Doe's Eat Place on Government Street on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
We're also brought to you by the Thibodeau Store, the Pierreport Store, open in LaRose and Lockport. Do-it-yourself season is here. Save right now on painting supplies at all four of these locations. TheThibodeauStore.com will get you to all four sites. Same-day pickup available on everything at the website, and delivery available on a number of these items, too. Cleaning up your yard, lots of lawn and garden tools on special right now, potting saws, seeders, and spreaders, outdoor cooking equipment, power equipment, and patio furniture, all available right now. The Thibodeau Store, 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodeau, open daily until 5:30. And again, all four websites available at TheThibodeauStore.com, all four locations of the store. Flau'jae Johnson drafted last night by Golden State at number 8 and was there less than an hour before she was traded to Seattle. I wanted to see when she got drafted, but I quit watching after that, I'll be honest with you. So it was a surprise later in the night when I found out that she had gotten traded, and an even bigger surprise when I found out kind of the details of it. She was traded for the first pick of the second round. She was the 8th pick overall. There's 15 picks in the first round. She was taken 8th, and she was traded for the first pick of the second round and a second-round pick in a draft in 2028, so not even next year, but 2 years from now. And I thought, that's kind of strange. Knowing very little about the WNBA draft prospects, but if you trade a pick in the middle of the first round for the first pick in the second round and a pick 2 years from now that's not even a first-round pick, I thought, that's kind of strange. And then they asked the general manager about it, and she says, I don't really want to – I don't have a lot of details to share because I'm exhausted, and I have to be thoughtful talking about other humans and their basketball abilities and how would they not show up on the squad. And I'm like, you just drafted her 15 minutes ago. Yeah, you're exhausted. And then we found out later in the night why she was so evasive. They agreed to trade these picks before they even started. Now, look, I've been watching the NFL, the NBA draft for a long time. They don't let you trade picks in the baseball draft. But I was blown away that they would trade the 8th pick in the draft before they knew who was going to be there. I mean, we see draft picks traded all the time when you know, hey, there's somebody there that, we didn't think would be there, so we'll trade up. Or more players are gone that we're in our bullpen, so we'll trade down.
It's like an A.J. Brown deal this year. So they free up how much, like $30 million or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I mean, they're off the hook for after they trade him after June 1st.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
can you trade
amortize it? Yeah.
Trade the picks now.
Trade them picks now. Yeah.
I mean, like, you know, you can't. No, you have to trade picks, future picks.
I mean,
once you make that trade, you know.
And they didn't know who's going to be. So if you trade number 8 for number 16 this year and number you don't even know 2 years from now, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, I'm convinced that an A.J. Brown deal is going to be in place before this draft. That won't go into effect this draft, but you might have a player that's drafted by the Eagles that might be involved.
And that happens in the NBA a lot.
Okay.
You draft this guy, and then we'll have the trade later on. That's why you see all of these guys that on draft night holding up jerseys of teams they never played for, never even reported to. That happens fairly often.
But Eli Manning holding up a Chargers jersey?
That's an NFL example, yeah. I mean, but in the NBA, this happens 6-8 times a year. But they don't trade them until they know who's going to be there.
Not to be ugly, but I mean, the league, you know, you got the commissioner up there, and they ask him, you know, you worried about your job security? Oh, would you ask me that if I was a man?
They asked her when she,
I mean, like, have you done enough? How do you still have a job? I mean, you've embarrassed yourself in the league so many times.
Do you know how many times we can ask Colucci? Ask Colucci this on Thursday. How many times Gary Bettman has been asked if he's going to step down or retire as commissioner of the NHL? I mean, it's a yearly question. It was a yearly question for David Stern when he was getting to the end. No, she took offense to something that was completely a benign
The one thing I wanted to talk about Flaugier was that she had her family. She's got little bitty brothers.
Yeah,
little peewees, man. You know, like about 3 and 5 or something. You know, and one of them was taking off his hat and giving a salute and stuff like that. She said, "Oh, come on up."
Yeah.
And so she did, and it was kind of cool. Holly Rowe, who's so good, you know, with them, and they feel so comfortable with her. But you said, "Flaugier, you've been on so many stages. Why you so?" Man, I wasn't an all-star. You know, I wasn't a highly ranked player. You know, I mean, I had to work, and you know, so she brought her little. It was just cool. It was cool.
It was, and everybody likes her.
And of course, Pokey is a lead scout for the Seattle team.
Right, and they showed they take the WNBA very seriously up there. The Seattle franchise is one of the stronger franchises, and there was this giant party. I say giant party. It was a full restaurant. Okay. And when they announced the trade, they went nuts.
Yeah,
Flaugier reposted it. She's like, "I love you guys. I'm ready. I'm ready to go." So they're very into it in that market. She's going to do well. She's going to do really well.
All the starting 5 got drafted in the first round from UCLA. All seniors, and then a 6 in the second round. All of theirs scored every point in the Final Four.
Yeah,
and I mean, good luck reloading.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough rebuild. That's going to be challenging when you lose everybody. But congratulations to Flaugier.
Sometimes you got to play in a game. You know, they got beat by 35 in their first Final Four ever.
Yeah,
against UConn last year. This year, they're playing a dynasty in South Carolina and beat them by 35.
Yeah. Congratulations to Flaugier Johnson, headed to the Seattle Storm. We'll take a break, come back, do first class, second class, no class. We are at Doe's Eat Place on Government Street in Mid-City, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch, first class.
I want a seat in first class where I was booked and ticketed over a month ago.
Second class.
No man should be subjected to the indignity of being labeled or treated like a second-class citizen.
And no class.
Life had become like school on Sunday. No class.
I'll tell you what then. Why don't you call me sometime when you have no class?
First class, second class, and no class. Brought to you by Supreme Rice. Buy local with Louisiana-based Supreme Rice since 1936.
And return here at Doe's Eat Place on Government Street in Mid-City. First class, second class, and no class. First class, the NBA season came to an end on Sunday, and the Pelicans are having their sort of exit interviews with the media. Joe Dumars talking this morning, but yesterday it was mostly players. Now that the season is over, if you're looking for bright spots, and you got to look hard because the season was not successful. You had to fire your coach. You finished with 26 wins, which was a whopping 5 more than a year ago. You didn't make the playoffs or the play-in. What did you get accomplished? Well, you drafted 2 rookies that I think, have very, very bright futures. I promised I would not harp on the trade for Derek Queen very much. They shouldn't have made it, but I can't argue with what Queen did his rookie year. He played in every game except one, and he started roughly half of them. Averaged 11.5 points and 7 rebounds, 3.7 assists per game. And he had some really remarkable games. He set the Pelicans rookie record for rebounds in a game. He set the Pelicans rookie record for double-doubles. So he had a very, very productive year. Even more productive was Jeremiah Fears, the point guard who turned 19 right before the season started, played in all 82 games. Did you hear that, anybody? He played in all 82 games. Queen played in 81 games. How refreshing. Fears averaged 14.3 points, 3.7 rebounds, 3.4 assists. And the turnovers, he's got to improve here, but it wasn't awful. 2.2 turnovers per game. But mostly what I was impressed with him was played 82 games. But he was 19 years old. This is a league full of grown men. That ain't easy. And his point production, his production period for a teenager was at some of the all-time lists. And at the end of the year, he finished with 40, 36, and 36 in their last 3 games. Now, I know everybody was, kind of coasting in. We'll get to that in a minute. But these two rookies, look, the Pelicans are full of problems. They don't have a unit that works very well together because Queen and Zion Williamson really can't be on the floor at the same time. They have no spacing. They have no outside shooting. When they do that, they lack a big dominant rim protector. There's any number of issues, but one of the issues that's been there for the Pelicans for a long time is they just couldn't get everybody on the damn floor. At least they did that this year. Trey Murphy played 66 games. Zion Williamson played 62 games, which is the second most of his career. They got a real find in Sadiq Bey, hoping that they re-signed him. And DeJounte Murray, who we didn't know if was going to play at all this year, made it back for the last month of the season. So they need to move Jordan Poole in the offseason. But and they need to find out a way all of this works together, because the product itself was not good. But the parts, there's some parts there. And the two rookies, I give them a heads up on a team that was not going anywhere and had to undergo a coaching change. They played the whole way, and I thought they did some nice things.
I need to throw out a little first class. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
And, I'm going to squeeze some tennis in.
Yeah.
So, first of all, congratulations to Danny Bryan and his men's team. They had a senior day. It was about 70, 80 cars parked across Guerrier Lane. That it was an overflowing crowd, and they took on a top 20 team, Kentucky, and wiped them out. They are going to finish top 5. They're going to host a regional. If they advance, they'll host a super regional as well. It's awesome, man. Go check it out. They also I was at a tennis tournament this time last year in Monte Carlo. Well, the two big two went at it again, Sinner and Alcaraz. Check this one out, Charlie. How many titles entering their final in Monte Carlo Sunday? Sinner had 26, Alcaraz 26. How many weeks at number 1? It was Sinner who was at 66 weeks at number 1 before Alcaraz took over for 66 weeks. This week on the court before their final in Monte Carlo, 6 hours and 1 second for Sinner, 6 hours and 1 minute for Sinner, 6 hours and 1 minute for Alcaraz. Playing each other all time, total points, 1651 and 1651. Alcaraz had a break. He was up a break in both sets, still lost in straight sets, 7-6, 6-3. So Alcaraz loses number 1. Number 1 was at stake because it's starting this year. So Sinner regains number 1. And guess what, Gino? He went up there, met him at the net before he got there. Big husband, man, you played so good. Smile on his face as he relinquishes number 1 against his arch enemy. And just, it is such a healthy, cool rivalry because they both want to beat their brains out. There's no doubt. But take a page, man. I mean, these two cats. And the other thing, that they're pulling away from the rest too. The gap is widening. I mean, this is a rivalry that's going to go down for long. Now they get injuries in tennis, but man, forbidden some severe. I just don't know who's going to be able to beat these guys. They both lost a set, and both were challenged in the third set in this tournament, but still.
Here's what I like about this rivalry, in addition to everything that you just said. There does not appear to be a dominant surface for either one of these guys. And I say that because some of the great tennis rivalries of all time, when Borg and McEnroe were going at it, Borg was clearly the superior clay court player, okay? And for the beginning of it, he was a superior grass court player. Then McEnroe took over for him, but McEnroe beat him the last time they played the finals at Wimbledon. Yeah. And McEnroe took over. McEnroe was the better hard court player at the U.S. Open. When you got
U.S. Open was on clay at the time.
Not in the early '80s.
No, okay, okay. There was Connors, but Borg lost most of them. It was on clay.
He never won one. He never won the U.S.
No,
Open.
I know, but it was still on clay in that era.
Before that, hang with me here. Sampras and Agassi. Sampras was the clear better grass court player. Agassi was the better clay court player. Federer and Nadal. Nadal was dominant on clay. Federer was dominant on grass. I don't see where either one of these players has one surface that they wholly favor over the others in the way we've had in some of these other tennis rivalries. They seem to be able to play at the highest level on all of these surfaces.
Sinner's a hard court player who grew up on clay.
Okay,
and he won on Wimbledon. So I mean, he's a big hitter. But Alcaraz is a shot maker who they all want to say he's better on. He is not, because sometimes he doesn't have the patience to grind on clay. But defensively, he is on clay. But he is so good on grass and on hard. No, he's the fastest. He's the youngest ever to complete the Grand Slam. One defense of Borg. The grass was faster. The clay was slower back then. So
which was really it's so impressive how he did that.
Oh,
he's dominating Wimbledon and the French.
He lost some heartbreakers in some road. You know, the Americans always play better in the U.S. Open. He lost some heartbreakers in the U.S. Open. Jimmy Connors and some others.
When you asked about Federer and Nadal, if you said, "Hey, Federer and Nadal are playing, who you like?" Well, you had to ask where they playing.
Yeah.
These two guys play.
No,
it's a fair fight no matter what surface that they're playing on.
I got one rule when I bet these guys. Whoever's plus money, I'm taking.
Yeah,
that's it. That is it. But I did like say Sinner was bet from like plus 39 to minus 20, so they figured it was his time too.
Yeah,
and it was. And now I will say that this is the toughest for him to beat Alcaraz. I think the other three are pretty neutral. Alcaraz is a little bit better on clay, but he grew up in Italy, which he was. You know, they play a lot of. It's all clay there as well.
Second class, went to the scrimmage on Saturday, had a lot of availability there. We watched the entire thing. I'm going to give you one guy that stood out. Maybe it was the one practice, maybe it was just his day, maybe it was a matchup, whatever. But Roman Mothershed stood out to me. He is a redshirt junior that was at Troy. He's 6'5" and he's 210 pounds, and he can run. His production at Troy was not overwhelming. He played 21 games there. He started a handful of them. Last year he caught 25 passes for 259 yards and a touchdown. But on Saturday he made a couple of really nice plays where he high-pointed the ball, went up and made plays. I will always look at big kids who can run. So I want to see more. This was one day. If you're asking me for one guy, that was the guy I came out of it with, Roman Mothershed, number 82. Keep him in mind. Tough blow for LSU yesterday, or I guess they find this out maybe Sunday. Matt Moscona reported this. Aiden Anding, who had 2 interceptions, the sophomore cornerback from Ruston, torn Achilles, and obviously going to be out for the season with that. Tough break. LSU was counting on him to be a depth piece there, and he played some as a freshman. So stinks for that young man because he had 2 interceptions in the scrimmage on Saturday. So stinks for him. Hope he can make it back. No class.
It's odd for a young guy like that to have a.
And Max, you watched him play too.
More veterans, you know.
I didn't think. We watched him. He went down. He went to the sideline. He was on the table. They got him up in a boot. I didn't think he had. I wouldn't have thought torn Achilles
I didn't see it. It would have made sense to me if he hyperextended. What it was a pick where it was a pick six. He had nobody in front of him. So it was an outside throw to the right.
It jumped it in the flat, yeah.
Jumped it and could have gone the whole way. And when he immediately falls down, you're like, oh, this is something significant. And I would have thought maybe, his foot got in front of him and he hyperextended his knee. But I guess, it was his ankle area, lower leg that became a problem there.
Worse than we thought.
Terrible.
All right, the NBA the NBA regular season came to an end on Sunday. 8 teams won 26 games or less. We had the most teams lose games by 30 or more points in the history of the league. All the while, the commissioner has kind of sat out there, and I'm not watching him in his office, but when I think of Adam Silver right now, I just see that picture of Bud Selig in the stands at the All-Star game with his hands out like, what do you want me to do?
Oliva had the same one at the away game.
Perfect.
Palms up.
What do Palms you want me to do? I have nothing to do. I wish Adam Silver was a little bit better at his history, because if he had looked to his predecessor, David Stern, he would have said there's definitely something he can do. 1985. Lakers going to Kansas City. The Kings were in Kansas City at the time. They left Magic and Kareem home. League fined them. Kareem was 38 years old at the time. The game didn't mean anything. Load management, they left him home for one game. Stern fined the crap out of him. So much so that it took him 5 more years to try that stunt again. End of the 1990 season. The Lakers are going to Portland on the last day of the regular season. Okay, they are, by 4 games, the number 1 seed. Portland is in second place, cannot move in either direction. The Lakers sit Magic, they sat Worthy, they sat Michael Thompson, and they sat Byron Scott. And they would have sat A.C. Green, who was their 5th starter, but he was about 400 or so games into a 1,100-game Ironman streak, so they wanted to keep the streak going. So A.C. played, everybody else sat, and Stern fined them. Now, the amount's going to sound ridiculous, but keep in mind these are $1990, 36 years ago, $25,000, and basically told them, if you do this again, we're going to double a fine. And if you do it again, we're going to double it after that. And Pat Riley was furious. Now, this is Pat Riley, okay, the Hall of Famer, the icon in the sport. He says, I can understand being fined for not bringing players, but we never said anything about not having to play them. And the Trailblazers were putting games on pay-per-view at the time. They're like, man, our fans didn't pay to see Mark McNamara play. And Pat Riley was absolutely furious at David Stern. You know who wasn't? Jerry Buss was the owner of the Lakers. He said, you know what? If Portland had come to Los Angeles and left all their starters home, yeah, I'd have been pretty steamed too for our fans. The fans, Jimmy. They were worried about the fans. They were worried about having competitive basketball. They're like, if the $25,000 fine, $1990 doesn't get your attention, we'll find a number that does. Now, the owners today spill $25,000 out of their shirt pocket. But you can get to a number that will get their attention. They are the greediest people on the planet, outside of maybe members of Congress. But you will get to their attention. Why are they expanding the league with all of these terrible teams? Because they're going to get billions in expansion rights. No, you can do something, Adam Silver. You have a blueprint with some of the icons in the league, Magic, Kareem, Jerry Buss, Pat Riley. No, you can get their attention. You just choose not to. You choose to sit there with your hands out going, my product is going to crap. Jimmy, you and I watch sports, okay? We watch college sports. We watch professional sports. We watch football. We watch baseball. We watch basketball. We watch a ton of golf. You love tennis. I love college baseball. We watch horse racing. We've come to watch some hockey. And neither one of us will watch the NBA in the regular season very much. Why? How bad of a product do you have to have in a professional sport that we grew up watching that we absolutely do not have any motivation to watch? In this system, we count, okay? Because if you turn us off, okay, how many regular fans have you lost? This is our job, but we do it anyway because we love it. And you have wrecked this product so bad. Yeah, and there's nothing I can do. Hell yes, there's something you can do.
Well, like put your play-in games for your first 6 of them on stream. Tonight's on Prime. Tomorrow night's on Prime.
Yeah.
Thursday and Friday night's on Prime.
I think you're going to find that 5 years from now there's going to be way more events on that than ever.
It's not the NFL.
No, it's not.
Not the NFL.
It's not.
Do I have to watch it? Do I have to watch the first 4?
No, you don't. No, you don't. There's strong leadership, and then there's the tail is wagging the dog.
He's the assistant coach who came in as their buddy, as their best friend. And he came in. Let me get rid of this, this bigot, racist, an owner. And he's he's been nothing but. Now he's in a position where he's got to lead, and to be a leader, you got to make some unpopular decisions.
Yeah.
But the unpopular decision, it's like a child. I mean, a kid.
I don't want to.
You are making decisions in their best interests.
Yeah.
Long term. They may not like it for short term, but it's in their best interest, and he has no leadership qualities.
I could have went another 10 minutes on the players that complained about the 65-game limit for postseason awards. They're like, well, wait, I don't want to play that. They made Wembanyama play the other night because he was going to sit. He had 40 points and 21 rebounds. Oh, look, you were healthy.
And then a more important game, he sits out Sunday.
Yeah. Because he got to 65 and he didn't need it anymore. He's been very vocal how much he wants an award. He's not going to get it probably, but he still wanted it, and here he is. And that's something the players union.
So you want to play the Nuggets and the Thunder back to back, or you want to play the Lakers who are banged up,
beat up, yeah,
and in the Thunder, huh? What are you doing, man?
At any sport and any look, the last game of the season, what the Lakers did in 1990, I would have been okay with. Okay, I'd have been like, okay, you know what? This is the last game of the year. You're going into the playoffs. You want to get an extra day's rest. Everybody's system is locked. I get it. Okay. But you can't do this crap in December. You can't do this crap in the second week of the season.
Charlie, you're late to the party, bro.
Man.
It was.
I'm not late to the party. I know about this. It's just today. It's the end of the season. It got my goat.
I got you. I mean, it was. Before the trade deadline, they had 9 teams tanking.
Yeah. If a third of your league doesn't give a crap, how can we watch this stuff? How can we watch this stuff?
By everybody's account, the worst regular season in the history of the league.
Yeah. And no remorse by the players. In fact, they're pushing the envelope. They want to play less. Now, you can forget about cutting the number of games, though, because that would get into their
money. Need more Anthony Edwards out there. Need more, those guys who are, go criticize him. Barkley's an ex-player. He can only do so much, but it's just some of the guys, and then you need somebody in your players union. Man, they're making so much. They're making so much money. Like man, you don't want to drive off your base. You're paying customer, and those people have had enough. As for the actual attendances are terrible.
And I give Giannis credit. Yeah. He wanted to play, and the Bucks wouldn't let him.
Yeah.
And I get the Bucks' idea behind this, but it's like, hey, wait a minute, you bought all these tickets.
It's going to take some, and you're going to have to compromise something. Not everything's perfect, but that has to be fixed. Yeah. That they got to play. I mean, it's in the travel considerations. Man, you know how much easier the travel is today than what the other guys used to do?
They were still flying commercial in the 80s.
I mean.
They were still flying commercial in the 80s.
First, second, no class brought to you by our friends at Supreme Rice. And Supreme Rice, of course, the rice, Louisiana grown, man. Grown, milled, processed right here in Louisiana. And just a tremendous product, man. And we've kind of evolved a little bit, the medium grain rice, the brown grain rice, the long grain rice, the parboiled rice, the jasmine rice. So we've got all kinds of different varietals. And now, what do we do in Louisiana? Well, I mean, you hear about it all the time. We restaurants, we serve nothing but Louisiana seafood, Louisiana seafood. Now you got some Louisiana crawfish tails. You got the Chinese tails. I can tell the difference. So a lot of people can't, but some people are using those and stuff like that. Well, you can get those in your grocery store if you want to make your etouffee or your crawfish pasta, your crawfish monica, your crawfish pies, everything at home. So look for those Louisiana crawfish tails from Supreme Rice in your area grocery stores as well.
Live at Doe's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
With Ott and Hanny from Doe's Eat Place on Government Street on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
And return here at Doe's Eat Place, live at lunch. LSU football back on the practice field this morning. Both Hunt and Matt were out there. They'll have full reports, but the biggest news that I can see coming out of there is Whit Weeks was back in pads today and participating with the linebackers in drills at the start of practice. Now, I don't think he did maybe some team stuff, but those guys will get to that. But the fact that he was back out there in pads really encouraging sign for LSU. Lane Kiffin did confirm the injury to Aiden Anding, said he knew that the offense was going to struggle a little bit without Sam Levitt at quarterback the back end of spring, but that he is pleased with the progress of the offensive line. So, Max, what else did you see on Saturday watching the scrimmage?
Well, Charlie, you're much more familiar to a lot of these than I am, but the offense was well behind the defense. I think that's fair to say.
Yes.
I know there were some stats that were put out there. You might see, 300 passing yards for Longstreet and whatnot. That's heavily misleading. There were a couple big plays each quarterback had, and they were later in practice against the 2s and 3s a lot of times. So there just wasn't a whole lot of really productive offense, and I'm a little worried about the pass protection early. It's very early. Obviously, it's the spring. Don't take too much away from this. But that was one of the first takeaways, just the obvious one, which is the defense is well ahead of the offense at this point.
So there's a few things in play here. Number one, the defense is supposed to be ahead of the offense because you don't have the continuity, and it's a lot easier to fix that on defense. The second thing is that the entire coaching staff is back on the defensive side. None of the coaches are back on the offensive side. So you're changing systems. You're changing personnel. I'm not at all surprised that the defense is ahead of the offense. In fact, I'd be greatly surprised if that wasn't the case.
I think you're going to see a lot of Bo Bordelon on this offensive line. He was at left guard. He's been in the first team at pretty much all the practices I've seen. So he's opposite Ba at right guard. But that's what we've seen a lot of, and Bordelon is going to have a big impact on this offensive line wherever he ends up sitting, but that's where we've seen him at left guard a lot as of late.
Yeah, the other guy that I liked was Dylan Jones.
I do.
The running back from Wisconsin. He played 10 games for Wisconsin, rushed for about 400 yards. He's the power back to me. There's not maybe this explosive, guy like a Harlem Berry, but he's a very how do you say honest back. I would expect him to get a good bit of work. Whatever role they decide, but I would expect him to get a good bit of work. He reminds me a lot of Josh Williams. Williams wasn't a star, but he was a really solid football player for LSU. Did a lot of the dirty work and didn't mind sticking his nose in there and going north-south. Jones reminds me a little bit of him.
Maybe a little bigger physically. He's a little taller than the rest of the guys. Not much, but no. He's imposing from what I've seen at practice.
$40 million payroll. We got on his backs.
Well, he's the newcomer. The two guys that are coming back, you already know about. Okay. So, but Durham and Barry are going to be the headliners.
Yeah. Okay.
You're asking me about newcomers. Right. Jones is one.
Okay.
You mentioned earlier about Mothershed. I think there's a lot of depth with this receiver group, but I think there's going to be a lot of rotation. I wouldn't get too caught up in who starts with the ones or whatnot early in the season. Yeah. That's what he does. He doesn't have a 1,000-yard receiver, so I wouldn't get too caught up in which receiver's standing out because there have been different ones at basically every practice I've seen. Some couple guys who drop it, a couple guys who have great catches. It's going to go back and forth there. I don't think you're going to have like one standout 1,000-yard receiver because you mentioned Mothershed. There were a couple big plays. Winston Watkins was heavily targeted. It was number 6 when Longstreet was in the game or in the scrimmage. So that was something I noticed as well. And I thought Longstreet was a little bit better than Clark. I like Longstreet more as a prospect. You see the arm talent and whatnot. There were a couple moments that he's raw. He hasn't played a whole lot at USC. He had a pitch late, a bad read option, fumble, a couple interceptions. But so did Clark have some bad interceptions as well, aired a couple balls. So, again, offense well behind the defense, but we kind of go to expect that at this point.
The high-ticket guys, Jimmy, Jordan Seaton at left tackle, worth the money. Ty Benefield at safety, worth the money. Benefield is my favorite player out there, out of everybody.
Of the new guys, for sure.
Yeah. Last year when I went, I I liked Halsey from the very minute I saw him. I was a little bit later to the party on Delane maybe than I should have been because he was great. I loved Halsey. I love Benefield. They're different players. They're different style of players, but I love Benefield. Love Benefield.
Like Jakeem Jackson as well. We've seen some good moments from him over the last few weeks, but certainly the Anding injury hurts because I'm a little concerned about the depth there in the secondary.
They had expected a little more from Jackson a year ago. He was a little bit of a disappointment. I'm hoping that this year we start to see maybe that come to fruition a little bit this year. And that's it. There'll be more on that. Kiffin just finishing with the media here about on the 20 minutes.
Don't forget our friends at K&M Automotive, the only place I take my vehicle to be serviced. 8445 Segan Lane, just off of Perkins. Jason Payne going to give you an honest deal. Going to get a lot of return business. He's always busy, but you come in and he's too busy at that time. He'll reschedule a time for you to come in for at a more convenient time for him and for you to save both of you time. But that engine light comes on, man. We're not trained mechanics. Bring it on in. We will figure it out and give you and try our best to give you a much more affordable repair option than replace option. But if something is seriously failing with your vehicle, he is not going to lead you the wrong way as well. Jason Payne at K&M Automotive, 8445 Segan Lane, 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Live at Doe's Eat Place, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Doe's Eat Place on Government Street on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, let's bring in Henry Hayes now. We'll be having him periodically throughout the entire NBA postseason. Henry, what's up?
Jimmy, how we doing?
We're doing fine. We're doing fine. All right, let's get this ugly part out the way. Is this the worst regular season that you can remember in the NBA? And can Silver get this fixed?
Yes, it is the worst for a lot of reasons. And obviously, you've chronicled them well in the show. There's so many teams that have no interest in winning, and your ticket prices have never been as high as they are. So when you ask fans to pay for 41 home games plus preseason, boy, you really are pushing the limits. Now, all this is set up against Jimmy against what? Two things. The Oklahoma City Thunder, who, that is the playbook on how to do this. Now, we'll see if that's ever done like that again because so many things fell right for them from drafting, from trading for Gilgeous Alexander to hitting on their draft picks and those guys panning out and, et cetera, et cetera. And then the Philadelphia 76ers. So even though Embiid has not played, they did the same thing, bottomed out and got themselves back into, contending. So, but it's not good for the league. There's no question about that. Can he fix it? I think these anti-tanking rules, Jimmy, are really lipstick on a pig. It's just, it's not a good product right now. Now, I say that. It's about to be. And you and I have always agreed on this. The best athletes in the world are ramping it up for the next 6 weeks. And these are the best athletes in the world when they're going full speed, and there's no doubt about that. So this is money time for the NBA players. But they have a lot to fix, and these are a lot of problems for sure.
Why did San Antonio sit Wemby on Sunday and not try to set up a matchup with the Lakers in the second round instead of Denver?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, and I'm glad you brought him up. In terms of bets, because I know you guys like some things that might be of value, take a look at San Antonio plus Boston for the finals. And then if you really want to roll the dice, San Antonio winning this thing. And I can make my case. But let's go back to that. I think that they're pretty comfortable, Jimmy, with all the matchups. Obviously, the success they had against the Thunder early this year caught everybody by surprise. And that's going to be potentially – well, Wembanyama is going to be a problem for anybody they play. They filled around him nicely. That 64 games which he played, that's the qualification number for all NBA awards and contract triggers, Jimmy. So he met that. And I think San Antonio is pretty confident with the way the playoffs set up for them.
Well, they're dangerous. Do they have enough playoff season? Nobody's played a playoff game.
Yeah, I think they're a lot in the same boat as Detroit. And again, you and I have been doing this, Jimmy, since 2003 when the Hornets moved to New Orleans. And I've always said, look, you gotta get hit in the face. You got to take a couple black eyes. You got to get your knees skinned. That's Jordan against Isaiah Thomas's Pistons. Larry Bird's Celtics took some black eyes. Magic's Lakers. Rarely do you just go Steph Curry's Warriors, right? They had their few skinned knees before they broke through. So that's the question with the Pistons and the question with the Spurs. Now, he is such a freak, Victor Wembanyama, that it may not matter. That's why it's intriguing, and that's why you could paint a picture that they could get the Thunder.
I mean, in the playoffs too, with the defense. I mean, he is the most impactful player in the league. And I mean, and I love Joker. I mean, he's so good, and SGA is. I mean, it's productive. I mean, he's perfected the art. It aggravates me, but I mean, he's got that little move where he gets those guys off the ground. He initiates contact, and he's getting to the line. 14 times a game. So, but I mean, this guy is just I don't know, man. But why? That's a tough path, man. OKC. I mean, Denver, then OKC. Back to back without having any playoff season. I got to see it be done. Now, I give them more of a chance than Detroit. Detroit, had their close games. I think they lost in 6, was it, to the Knicks? Every one of those games were close, but I don't know. I see more of that was one of my divisional picks this year for a young team that wanted to build up a seeding against some more veteran, disinterested teams in the NBA. I see more upside for San Antonio than Detroit.
Detroit.
You give Detroit a little credit. I'm selling Detroit short, huh? Okay.
They're physical and they guard. Now, again, this is another broken record. Detroit's one of those teams, Jimmy, that they're going to play really, really hard in mid-January and late November, and when no one's watching. And you and I have always agreed. That's fine, but when you get to the playoffs, there's less red zone for a team like that than everybody else. They're going to play as hard as you, and playoff basketball is a little different. But it's funny you mentioned the road they have to take. I think we've gotten so spoiled. Nikola Jokic was 28, 13, and 11 this year, and he shot 57% from the field. I mean, that is insane. And everyone knows he's going to do it. Now, he probably won't win the MVP, which he should, because there's fatigue. But, I mean, 28, 13, and 11, averaging a triple-double at his size. And, again, the whole world knows what he can do now. So, yeah, that's the good news. Again, that's why this is a great time of year for guys like me, because these guys are full out every play. And it's go time and money time for them. So that's why the playoffs are awesome.
And I'm going to be, an old fogey here, stick in the mud when it comes to some of these offensive numbers because, I mean, my gosh, they're scoring 130, 40 points a game on a regular basis against teams that they're disinterested. So I'm just wondering about those, and I'm not going to take away anything from Joker. I've seen him enough. I mean, he's phenomenal. He's skilled, but I don't know about some of these offensive numbers. The Celtics are interesting. Tatum is back. He rushed back. He is playing every game. He is doing everything he can to try and get ready. It was always a two-headed monster, but he was the lead dog. Not this year. I mean, Brown is, he carried this team in position in the process while he was down. They developed some other players. Are you seeing him blending in a favorable way for them to make a run?
Well, nobody saw this coming, myself included. So I'll tip the hat to them. Look, you really have to. You talk about striking gold, Jimmy. Joe Mazzulla not only got promoted off the Celtics bench, he got promoted off the second row of their bench. If you watch an NBA game now, there's your front row. You have the head coach who's usually standing,
yes,
and his 4 assistants. Then you have the guys behind them, which these days are 8 to 10. That was Mazzulla when they moved on their coach. And you're thinking, what are they doing? This is the Boston Celtics. Well, you got to give him credit because he has been outstanding. And I think he is, to me, he's the runaway coach of the year because you take his best player off the roster. And also credit Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown stepped up into the role. There are some questions, and I think those are fair. Look, when it's a tie game and there's 18 seconds left and, do you defer? Do either of them get their feelings hurt? I'm not so sure. But, boy, I tell you what, the depth around them, they have really done a nice job. Now, the one piece you can nitpick with the Celtics are that front court has played really well, and they obviously trade Porzingis away, and they remade their roster. And those guys, if you're not an NBA freak, you haven't heard of them. So it's a fair question to say, how are they going to play in the postseason? Garza's never played a minute. So we'll see there. But I'll tell you what, you talk about guarding. They're second and fourth in offensive and defensive efficiency, Jimmy. So that tells you all that you need to know.
Charlotte showed some. Go ahead.
I think the Celtics are odds-on favorite to come out of the East.
All right, the games that are set up for tonight and tomorrow night. Charlotte 5.5 over Miami. Charlotte showed some signs, man. Of course, Knipple gave them. He was outstanding from three. The young team that really got hot. One of the better teams in the second half.
Con Knipple, how about that? And not to bang on Duke, but so you have him and you have Flag, and they can't win it anyway. We beat that drum.
But 2 other guys that got drafted in the first round.
Exactly. So the rich get richer. But, Knipple, I tell you what, they have hit on something there. You're talking about a 6'7", about 220-pounder who from three, immediately made an impact. He can get his own shot. You don't have to run action for Knipple, and he's a problem. And so that's an interesting young roster. Again, little to zero playoff experience. So, we'll see. But they're in it, and if you're a Hornets fan, all dozens of them, this is great for them to kind of get some seasoning. But Colin Kneppel's a player, and he's going to be around for a long time.
So Miami with tons of playoff experience, can they put up a fight here tonight?
I take the veteran coach, Jimmy, in these type of setups because Spoelstra's been through many of these games. We're sick and tired of hearing the Heat way, which, we've poked some holes in that lately. But he knows what he's doing. He came out of the film room for a reason. So I go with the veteran coach in these type of setups.
All right, the other game tonight and the Phoenix Suns. And the Suns are getting back. It was Dylan Brooks who was out for a while. He's back, and they're 2.5-point favorites tonight at home against Portland.
Yeah, I like the home team here. Portland, little bit of an upstart, kind of Portland up and down this year, but back to a play-in type of opportunity, building that roster. And the Suns, ever since the ownership changed hands, they trade for Durant, just a lot of moving pieces. But I like Phoenix tonight because they're home.
Philly 1.5 tomorrow against Orlando, and the Clippers 5.5 tomorrow night against Golden State. Favorites at home.
Yeah, I like the Clippers. The Golden State, the game that really opened my eyes. Lakers with no Luka and no Reeves, and they boat raced the Warriors at Golden State. That was eye-opening. I think, they're starting to remind me a little bit of Willie Mays in a Mets uniform in center field. They had a great 12-year run. Curry and, Draymond and Steve Kerr, but they're a shadow of what they once were. So I like the home team there. And then in the other game, again, what was the number on the other game?
Philly 1.5 at home against Portland. Orlando.
Yeah, so no Embiid, which they've gotten used to playing. Actually, I like Orlando here, Jimmy. I think the matchups are kind of good in the Magic's favor. They play up tempo, they'll get up and down against the Sixers. So actually, I would lay those points. I would take the points if I'm betting this one.
Orlando is brutal, man. They finally get on a winning streak, and then they just, go in a tank. I think they should be better. Their roster should be a little bit better than what they are, especially so many gimme games against the teams tanking.
Yeah, but boy, look, Jimmy, one of the things I'll agree with, the strike-shortened season in '99, where we had the Knicks Spurs in the finals, that was 50 games. And what we learned from that time period was, and that was a sprint. You only had 50 games to kind of make your playoff seeding, and it was a great regular season. Now, we're not going to meet an owner who wants to give back revenue on 32 games, but 82 games is too much. And we see it, and they're paid what they are. There's load management all over the place. And, it's not tenable to great basketball. But, look, we've reached that point now. We're in the playoffs, and so that's behind us. So we can mitigate that for another day. But 82 games is way too many.
All right, Henry, we appreciate it. We'll be in touch throughout the playoffs. Thank you, buddy.
All right, little Wemby.
Yes, indeed. Talking some NBA talk.
Come back and wrap things up here live at Doe's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
At Lunch with Ott and Hanny from Doe's Eat Place on Government Street on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
NBA play-ins start tonight. 4 former LSU players in the NBA playoffs this year, Jimmy. I'm not sure I could have come up with all 4 without looking it up.
Can I guess?
Yeah, sure.
Garrett Temple is technically on one.
Well, Garrett Temple has played 22 games for the Toronto Raptors this year. He is in year 16 of his NBA career. He's played more NBA games than any LSU grad except Shaquille and Bob Pettit. And he, I got to look Pettit up again because he may have passed him. But yes, Garrett Temple with is on the
Tari Eason.
Tari Eason with the Houston Rockets.
Trenton Watford
with Philadelphia 76ers. Hell, the last one's the easiest one, I thought. Probably the most.
No, Naz Reid.
Naz Reid with Minnesota. So 4 guys in the NBA playoffs. 3 of them recruited by Will Wade, Jimmy. Just in case you're scoring at home.
Is he recruiting right now?
I
know he is.
I would imagine he's recruiting. He's not getting many commitments. The commitments are starting to trickle in a little bit. Last day and a half, there were a lot of visits, but mostly got a lot of guys that are. It's a nice way to put it. Weighing their options or counting.
Tax day.
The counting. Tomorrow's tax day, right? I'm sure that's what they're counting for. So, anyway, Garrett Temple, 16 years in the NBA. It's
incredible.
Heck of an accomplishment for him. Thanks to Doe's Eat Place for being our guest. I'm looking forward to the hot chicken sandwich as soon as we finish up. Yes. One of my favorites. Also one of the best salads. I just love the grilled shrimp salad here. Fantastic. The hamburger steak, another one of the favorites here at lunch. The underrated meatball po' boy here at Doe's. And, of course, if you're coming tonight, get a steak. They're never going to short you on the portions here at Doe's Eat Place. Our home here every other Tuesday in the Crown Town Room on Government Street in Mid-City. For Max, for Jimmy, Jordan Kinch is back in the studio. I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good afternoon. Stay tuned for Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.